everybody. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Box Seats. I'm your host, Frank Holder. I'm here with the comedians known as Talent and Fig. And like I say every day, these guys have been in comedy for a long time. They've been in comedy since comedy began. Well, almost that long. They've been in comedy films, film festivals, commercials, what else? Everything, comedy shows. Now they're in something we call a sports comedy talk show where we talk about sports and we get down with the get down with all the talk about sports with a little bit of comedy. So let's jump right into it. First thing is what I always start out every day with the COVID report. And the first thing with the COVID report today, I'm going to start out with today, Major League Baseball is relaxing the protocols for players who have taken a vaccine. And I'm going to start with you, Alan, and say, do you think that's a smart thing, not so smart thing? What do you think about just Major League Baseball saying, you know what, if you took the vaccine, you don't have to go through so many protocols? What do you think about that, Talent?
Well, I mean, I get it. It makes sense because they're doing that across the board in the country. They got different guidelines for people who took the vaccine. They say, oh, well, now you can do this. You still can't do that until they're vaccinated. But I guess if collectively baseball, the people that you're playing with and against and working with, all are vaccinated, I guess they feel like it's safe. That's what the whole point of the vaccine is.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that one. Faye, what you think?
I'm waiting until they say that if you eat bacon, then you can do everything. It's the same as the vaccine. If you just eat one pack of Oscar Mayer bacon, 1 pound of Oscar Mayer bacon with grits, with salt, pepper, and cheese and butter. No sugar. You got to be salt, pepper, cheese, and butter.
Somebody hungry.
A pound of bacon with grits. Then you should be fine. It's crazy. The CDC and Dr. Fauci and all the scientists are saying, listen, I know you're going to take this vaccine, but the vaccine does not prevent you from getting the virus. The vaccine is going to build up your immune system. And if you so happen to get the virus, the vaccine is going to make it to the point where most likely you won't die from it.
Right.
That's it. That's all they're saying. Yeah. But the country is so interested in going forward and getting back to normal that they're willing to do anything.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of money being lost, a lot of money at stake. I think that's what the whole thing is all about. You know what I mean? That's
always about the money.
It's always about the money.
And they tricked everybody because for the first part of the vaccine push out was making people believe that I get the vaccine, I'm good. I can't get it.
Yeah.
But what it really is we're pushing the vaccine so that if everybody takes it, we now have what you call herd immunity.
Yeah. Yes. Good way of saying it. Good way of saying it. In other Major League Baseball news, Major League Baseball made some changes to the baseballs themselves, which is kind of funny. They are making sure the balls are going to have they're going to be so tighter. They're going to have less bounce effect and everything else because they want people to hit more home runs and base hits. So I think, they're one level short of saying, you know what, let's just put aluminum bats in the game too, because they're trying to do everything to get excitement back to the game of baseball because the numbers are dropping dramatically. So you hear about this, probably jump in other Major League Baseball news. You hear about this town. Does this excite you? I mean, you know what I mean? I know you're a Yankees fan, but does this move your needle?
Well, I'm like Fig. I'm extreme with getting excited. I bring the steroids back. I laugh every time he say it, but it's true. It's the most exciting it's been in 100 years. So whatever you got to do to pump up the excitement of it. I think the problem with baseball is COVID hurt everything, but it really hurt baseball. When you have this laid back, less physical, less dramatic, constant moving sport, and now everyone has to stay still and all they're doing is watching more and more programming, baseball loses out. So that's what hurt baseball. But yeah, I mean, whatever you got to do to make it exciting, I'm all for it. Barring, live executions on the baseball field, let's do it.
Big, what do you think? You think that adjusting the baseball, everything else is going to bring back excitement to the game?
Yeah, and juice the baseball, cork the bats, give the guys vaccines, steroids, make the beer stronger in the stands and the hot dogs longer. Stronger beer and longer hot dogs. That's what we got to do, because I'm like, man, baseball, man. Hey, you know what really helped, Frank? Just a crazy idea. This is just me. Make the strike zone smaller. If you made the strike zone smaller, pitchers would have a hard time hitting the strike zone, which in turn would make hitting easier. And you know what they did to basketball? They changed the rules ever so slightly to facilitate scoring. And when you facilitated the scoring, it made the game more exciting because the scores were higher. So if you could do something to facilitate that in baseball, it would probably make baseball more exciting. And if you give out a free apple pie if you buy 4 tickets or more, because that's the American dream, is hot dogs, baseball, and apple pie. Make the long hot dogs, the baseball, and the apple pie.
Let me ask my man, Mr. Rodney Perry. Rodney Perry, first of all, how you been? And second of all, we are talking about the Major League Baseball is officially starting this season. They are going to adjust the baseball. They're going to harden the stitching. They are going to make the balls harder to hit and everything else. But they want, to generate more runs, because the runs are down. As we all know, the excitement is down, and people are carrying less and less. It might even be too late for them to even try to save it the way they want to save it. What you think, Rodney?
Well, one of the big problems with baseball is ain't no Black Americans playing, right? Mm-hmm. So anytime Black people not playing your sport, it ain't cool. And so they need to make efforts to reach out to Little League Baseball again and start building Black American baseball players again. We used to have a lot of Black Americans, and it's very few. If you pay attention, look at it. I'm totally against lengthening the hot dogs. What type of stupid ass, man? What the hell, big? What the fuck? Longer hot dog? What? Who wants a longer hot dog? I'm in the stand with a foot long hot dog, and my wife looked at me like, I didn't know you liked that. Look. Baseball, but that's the crazy part. No matter how boring baseball is, it's not going nowhere. You like, baseball is still gonna be there. It can be like, let me tell you something. White people love baseball.
Let me tell you something.
White people love some damn baseball, and they probably like baseball because ain't no Black people playing no more.
Yeah, I think that's what
they want a dark face. They go to El Salvador or somewhere and get one.
Yeah, I think that's what the thing is. Now, let me ask you this, Tal. I'm going to start with you, man, because the odds came out this morning. Everybody's talking about the baseball odds of people who's supposed to be winning and everything else. The Yankees and the Astros are neck and neck to come out from the American League. And the favorite to come out of obviously, is the champs, is the Dodgers. So they're looking like, people are thinking right now it could be the Yankees and the Dodgers picked by the experts to go, obviously, for the World Series and everything else. I'm going to start with you. We ain't got to talk forever about this, but do you think the Dodgers, Yankees, you're a Yankees fan.
You already know. NY all day. Yeah. All day.
And Brooklyn Dodgers.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We got grit. I think that we talk about World Series of Champs coming out. This is the year of grit. COVID year of baseball is going to end up being the year of grit, and I'm going to get the edge to the Yankees all day.
All right. Now, Fig, you're a New Yorker too, so I'm assuming you're going to pick the Dodgers. And you're going to give me a joke about the Brooklyn Dodgers at that too. Let me say. Go ahead.
Ebbets Field, baby. Ebbets Field. Brooklyn Dodgers, Jackie Robinson, Branch Rickey. I don't care if the Dodgers win. We representing Brooklyn all day. Brooklyn. And the Yankees, of course. We don't want, listen, I don't want nothing out of Houston to win nothing. After what they did to my man Deshaun. Damn Houston. The only thing I like out of Houston is out of Texas is Beyonce. Anything other than that, I don't care about nothing out of Texas. I hope they lose everything. I hope they lose the next Civil War.
Rodney, what you think?
First of all, I come on here, y'all talk about long ass hot dogs. Not talent talk about grits. I don't know what's happening, man. What y'all doing? First hot dogs, now both what they got is grits.
It's been a little while.
Is do the grits have cheese in them or sugar?
Cheese.
And that would be a big debate.
Cheese.
Sugar.
I got sugar.
No.
No.
I mean, all jokes aside, man. I mean, you can't never discount the Yankees, man. The Yankees are a great organization. Like, we always talk about organizations. One of the best organizations in professional sports is the New York Yankees, man. They spend the money. They want to win.
Yeah, and they have one. And they have one.
Wants to win.
Yeah, and they have one. They, I don't think anybody's seeing the Yankees no time soon. Not in our lifetime. You know what I mean?
I tell you what, it's probably hard to be a player though, because if your ass miss one ball in the field, you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And then now we got to talk about the hottest topic in sports, and I want to bring this up because we last week we literally were having a talk last week about the refs, right? Friday wasn't here last week. We were talking about the refs. The big topic was the refs take too much and they take away from the game too much. Last night, a ref did exactly what I wanted him to do with the NCAA women's basketball Baylor game versus UConn. The ref he didn't call any calls. They didn't call any calls throughout the whole game. So, Talon, I'm gonna start with you, and I'm gonna ask you. We know the girl. Her name is Dejani Carrigan. She was going up for a layup. She got hacked. It was but people, everybody talk about that right now. But people are tending to forget something. This is a key point. The refs weren't calling fouls most of the whole game. You know what I mean? They didn't change. Right. They did exactly what I like them to do. You know what I mean? In the playoffs. Now the women are getting counted down to the final four. The refs kept his. He's like he ain't calling nothing. So I liked it. You know what I mean? People are up in arms though. But
those are people who don't understand how sports go. The officiating in sports is this. You have two teams going against each other. 100% of the room is never going to agree on the call. So knowing that, only thing you can hope for from officials is consistency.
Right.
So either you're going to call a lot of stuff or you're not going to call nothing. And if the whole game they ain't been calling, I don't want you calling nothing to mess up the end result. If you already let them play, what do we always say, especially in basketball? Let them play.
Yeah.
If we let them play, we got to let them play.
I think it's street ball at its finest. You know what I mean? Now, Fig, Dejani Carrigan gets hacked, gets fouled. What side of the fence are you on? Are you on the let him play side, or are you on she got hacked and it was so bad she should have got fouled? She should have got the call. What do you think?
I always like to leave the game in the hands of the players. I hate when refs interject themselves to the point where their fingerprints are all over the game, deciding who wins and who loses. I err on the side of I like the way to play. I mean, she was fouled, clearly fouled. But it's just unfortunate. In sports, somebody wins and somebody loses, and that wasn't the only call that did not get made yesterday. So just because it was at the end of the game, it didn't determine the game, because there were other calls that the refs didn't make. And here's the thing that we always say, Frank. I know most, avid sports fans will say this. The regular season, the refs make, calls and stuff like that. But when you get to the playoffs and the finals and stuff like that, the refs usually let the players determine the game. So they swallow the whistle and allow for a little more aggressive play during finals and playoffs. And this was a playoff type situation. So the refs swallowed the whistle.
All right, Rodney Perry, the game is on the hand.
I'm kind of somewhere between both of you guys, man. Look, I'm all for letting folks play, but your job as a referee is to keep these players safe also. So if you letting, a person get shanked on the damn court, you need your ass whooped. You know what I mean? Like this is the thing. Man, if we got to play a tough game, what Talon said about consistency is absolutely a fact. But dog, a clear, like either way, he's still affecting the game. A no call affects the game. You know, an obvious no call. And I think you as referee, your job is to keep these players safe. If this girl would have got hurt, career-ending injury, it would have been his fault.
I don't know how you figure his fault because all he got to do is call the play one way or the other. She still would have been hurt.
I figure his fault because that was my take, Frank.
I'm not. I for one am not gonna overtake nobody's take. I'm just saying that it ain't nobody's fault. You know, injury fault.
It's his fault.
Okay, it's his fault. It's his fault. But I'm gonna leave it with this. Let me ask you all this: Do we all agree with the fact being that if the ref should be come out the game, like let him play? You know what I mean? Because last week we were like let him play, and the ref.
We need to start subbing out refs.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Wow.
Out of here. You have failed this game. Get a new person in.
I like that.
If I get 3 shots, I got to go sit down next to the coach. It should be a ref coach.
Ooh,
You know what? That's funny, but
that's a good idea.
Refs do change the flow of the game. And you know, even if the refs are calling it one way, when it gets towards the end of the game, refs generally pull back a little bit and let the players play a little more towards the end of the game. You know, like towards the end of the fourth quarter, they usually swallow the whistle a little more so they don't affect the game. I mean, the good players in championship teams are the ones who adjust their play according to the way the refs are officiating the game.
Willie, get your ass over here. You done made 5 calls. Come here, Willie.
I like that idea. I ain't gonna front. I like that idea. Get him out of the game. I like that idea. All right, let me keep the conversation going on because you know we got to talk about a couple of things. Today is the pro day for Justin Fields and Mac Jones. Now, I just saw the thing just flashed up on screen. My man Justin Fields just ran a 4.4 just now, literally not even 10 minutes ago on his pro day. The first 5 picks: Jacksonville, Jets, San Francisco, Atlanta, Cincinnati. I'm gonna ask you, Talent. Do you think that Justin Fields is going in the top 5? Hell, do you think he's going in the top 3 right now, especially if he does really well at the pro day?
Well, I think top 5. Even with doing very well in the pro day, I still see him going top 5, maybe not top 3. If I had to put money on it, I say top 5. Even with a good show day at his pro day.
All right, okay. I'm gonna let you stick with that answer. Fig, I'm gonna ask you because Jacksonville, we know they're picking Trevor Lawrence. The Jets, Sam Darnold. You know what I mean? If I'm the Jets, I keep Sam Darnold. San Francisco, they got Jimmy Garoppolo. They said they're not trading him. You know what I mean? Atlanta got Matt Ryan. Cincinnati got that new kid too that they got last year, Burrow. You know what I mean? I don't know if he's going top 5. Joe Burrow. So I don't know if he's going top 5. So I want to see, are you going to agree with Talent or are you going to be like, nah, he ain't going, Justin Fields ain't going top 5? What you think?
Man, you know, the way things have transpired recently with these teams, man, it's like really up in the air. Justin Fields, you know, the NFL seems like it's trending towards the mobile quarterback. Back in the day, they wanted a quarterback to stay in the pocket. But now it seems like teams are recognizing that they can win with a mobile quarterback, and a mobile quarterback is just another weapon. So with that being said, this kid running a 4.4, somebody might take a chance on him, man, and just go ahead and bite the bullet and just snatch him up in the top 5. I wouldn't say that it's an impossibility because he's clearly an athlete. You could do something with him.
Yeah. So Rodney, this is what my take really is if he goes in the top 5, it will be because the Jets moved on from Sam Darnold and San Francisco's moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo. If Justin Fields move on to top 5, because Atlanta's not moving on from Matt Ryan, he's still getting some numbers, and Joe Burrow just landed. You know, Joe Burrow's doing really good for Cincinnati, so it's going to be San Francisco or the Jets. So what are you thinking right now, Rodney? You think Justin Fields going top 5?
I mean, it's a definite chance of him going top 5. But how about this? he might not be going into a starting position.
Right.
Like, sometimes you get the best guy available. And if he's the best guy available when you make your pick, you get him regardless of what you got. Right? And so that opens up the top 5. That opens up, a lot of things. So I think if I'm a GM and this guy is at the best available when I come, I'm gonna look at my QB like, nigga, don't trip, but we getting this young boy.
You know what? That makes perfect sense too. Because if you're San Francisco, why not draft him and keep Jimmy Garoppolo? Because then you got him on the bench. If Jimmy Garoppolo
gonna get hurt.
Yeah, if he gets hurt again, he's gonna get hurt. You can pull him. You know what I mean? Jimmy G gonna get hurt.
Hold on, man. Now I need to ask a question. Rodney, what'd you have for breakfast?
I'm eating right now.
Because you waffling all over the place. That's all.
Well, that's not a waffle?
I don't think so either. Now, Rodney, yesterday we talked about something that you didn't miss. You weren't here part of the conversation. So I'm gonna start with you. This series. Yesterday, the NFL, they're meeting and they're gonna be finalized today on a 17-game schedule. 18 weeks is gonna be the hang. You're gonna drop one preseason game out. But here's the thing about this whole thing, the NFL owners that nobody's talking about. The NFL owners are going to make $250, $300 million more per each team because of the contracts, the new TV contracts that are coming in right now. Are you for or against the 17-game schedule with the new NFL is deciding on right now as we speak? Where you sitting at, Rodney?
Well, the Players Association has been trying to get less games for some time now. The only way the Shield and NFL does this is if they make more money. That's the only way. And so if that's happening, they're definitely primed to make more money or they've done a better deal. So NFL is always going to look out for itself first.
All right. Now let me start to go back to talent. See, talent, have you changed your mind since yesterday where you sitting at thinking, the NFL is making the right decision? Because now the players, here's the thing, the players aren't making any more money. Each player, they're getting paid an additional check per game, but it's not extending their contract, it's not doing anything for them. But the owners, they all make $250 each.
Yeah, but I don't look at it like that, Frank. I look at it like this. You're adding a game and taking a game away. You really didn't change anything. All you really did was made one more game count.
Right.
You have 4 preseason and a 16-game season. Now you're saying 17-3. Same number. You're just making one more game count.
Yeah. You know what, talent? That's the perfect way to look at it because their checks are not changing. But the thing that is changing is the ownership is making more money. You know what I mean? That's the thing that's changing. What you think?
The sad thing about it is that the players, we talked about yesterday, the players actually signed up for this. That 17 game was an option when they did the collective bargaining agreement. It was in the agreement that it was a possibility for them to go to an additional game. The difference between a regular season game and a preseason game is preseason game, your starters might play 4 downs, 5 downs. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But in a regular season game that counts, unless the other team is getting blown out, you can't do that with your starters. Your starters got to play that game. And them not getting more money is absolutely ridiculous. For the owners to see another $250 million and the players not to be able to get a dime, that's a horrible agreement.
Yeah. Horrible. And they signed up for it. So, but they will if they win a game, extra game in the playoff, they get bonuses and stuff like that. But it's not really real money. So now let me ask you.
Let me jump in there, Frank, before we move on. This is the thing, man. First of all, I always say this: when you're negotiating with people that got all the power, you're always at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Right. And so the players, again, the owners have proven they do what the hell they want to do when they want to do it. And the crazy part is like we say, well, they signed up for it. Dude, it's just a bad deal. But how about this? This year we saw what a team is like with very little preseason. Preseason kind of matters.
Yeah, it does.
When we see bad football for the first quarter of the season now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, that's an excellent point because we might see it. It might expose some things because now teams got to adjust to a 3-game preseason thing. You know what I mean? Usually teams like I can't speak for every team, but I focus on the Patriots. I know what the Patriots do. They play all their reserves and everything else the first 2 games, and the starters get maybe a quarter or 2 in the 4th game. You know what I mean? And then by the 4th game, they're making a lot of cuts. They already know who's in and out. You know what I mean? That's how you should be doing it. Big NFL news happened just about an hour before we got on. I want to drop this out there too. Larry Fitzgerald is visiting Tampa Bay because it looks like Tampa Bay is not going to sign Antonio Brown. So Larry Fitzgerald will probably be a bigger piece than Antonio Brown. He's a bigger dude, just as fast. You know what I mean? So, Talent, when you hear Larry Fitzgerald visiting Tampa Bay, do you think he's going to walk out of there with a contract? And do you think he would be a great piece to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Well, I know right away he's going to be less problems. That's a church boy if I ever seen one. But I think that he's a very likable dude from what I hear. So I think he's leaving out of there with a contract. If you got a choice of, AB, if I'm like Brady, who has a lot to say over there, I don't feel that obligated to AB if I get a Fitzgerald coming. I feel like I done put you back on the map. I done kind of cleaned your name up a little bit. You got a tip. You can go somewhere and get some dough. I did my part. Now Fitzgerald coming. I'm like, wait a minute. I sleep better at night. When you go to bed, when AB's on your team, you go to bed for 1 hour and you call him girl. You okay? Fitzgerald, you sleep like a baby. I think he comes out there with a contract, right?
I think what you think.
I do.
You can't disagree with Talent, man. The whole season. I don't know if y'all heard this. It was on the underground information line that AB was not allowed to have a cell phone all last season. Like he didn't have a cell phone all last season, and I understand that's why you gotta sleep with one eye open because you never know what he might say or what he might do or what he might put out on social media. Larry Fitzgerald got an Obama phone, so he ain't putting nothing now.
Right, what you think?
Are y'all losing your mind? AB, Larry Fitzgerald is a shell of the player that AB is. Now,
He
AB
really
is
is.
gone, but Larry Fitzgerald ain't no equal pickup. If they do pick him up, they gonna find something to do with him, but he's not stretching the field no more. Larry Fitzgerald is 65.
Mm-hmm. Right. He's an old dude. He's an old dude.
Old man.
That's why I said the Obama phone.
Yeah, he's an old dude.
Like,
So speaking of visiting,
Larry Fitzgerald might morph into a possession receiver, and we know that Brady likes those guys. He likes those guys that go across the middle, catch them, and he can still get some run out the catch. But Larry Fitzgerald ain't number 1 or number 2 lined up on the wide.
but
Not no more.
definitely not in Tampa Bay. He'd be the 4th option, maybe the 5th option. That they have. But speaking of visiting, listen to this. Remember Sammy Watkins from Kansas City? Used to be a Blaze and everything else. What nobody really talking about is Sammy Watkins is signed with Baltimore Ravens. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody even said anything. He signed.
I like Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, Sammy Watkins was a Blazer, and he was a really difference maker for Kansas City. Now the thing is, when he was on Kansas City, they couldn't double team. You know what I mean? They couldn't double team this other Blazer receiver, but now they can because he's gone. So I'm thinking that this does not help Kansas City's chances of returning to the Super Bowl. That one player, you know what I mean? Because now you can double team a couple of other players that they have. So tell them, start with you. Okay, Sammy Watkins joins the Ravens. You like that sign? And what's your thoughts about Kansas City right now with him signing?
Well, I wouldn't worry. If I'm Kansas City, they're not worried. Their coach is Andy Reid, old school. He get a flat. Old school people still use fix-a-flat. They only had to get a whole tire. They go get fix-a-flat, ride down the turnpike. They gonna plug that hole with another person take it his spot. They're not worried about losing Sammy Watkins. The hell is wrong with y'all? And you want to talk smack about Fitzgerald? Kill yourself.
Okay. All right, Fig, what you think?
You say all that about Fitzgerald, but Sammy Watkins? Please.
I ain't had my turn yet.
Hold on, Ronnie. Hold on. Let Fig get his turn. You talk. Go ahead, Fig. Your turn. Go ahead.
See, Fitzgerald is old, and Watkins is a little newer than Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald is an old name, way back. You know, you can use the 1910, 1890 and find Fitzgerald. Watkins is pretty new. That name didn't come along till around about the 40s. So he's a little newer than the Fitzgerald. So the Sammy Watkins, he's a little younger than the Fitzgerald, and he can do a little more. And I think, like Talon said, with a coach like Andy Reid, he can figure out a way to you know, put a little more after boost into that Watkins.
All right, Rodney Perry. Now it's your turn.
I like Sammy Watkins, man. I don't think it's going to affect Kansas City at all. If Kansas City short their offensive line back up, it don't matter who's out there. Your boy is going to make plays. And so Sammy Watkins was kind of his security blanket this last year. And you know, he just spent a lot of time running for his life. But I like Sammy Watkins to Baltimore. That's going to be a good look for your boy out there, the QB out there. Sammy Watkins is one of those guys that makes plays. He's that slot guy that Fitzgerald is morphing into. So Sammy Watkins is that guy. I like that.
Because Lamar Jackson needs a wide receiver. He'll be able to throw the ball to. But
Sammy Watkins is not a 1 or 2, but he's like a nice 3.
Yeah, he could, and some teams he is a 2. Some teams he could be a 2. Because some teams got trash, you know. But here's another thing that y'all forgetting: Kansas City lost their running back and Sammy Watkins. So I don't see how that running back they had was dope, and I don't see how you lose. You have 4 good pieces on your offense. Actually, 5 if you want to count the QB. But you got 4 good pieces on your offense, and you lose 2 of them. All you got is Hill, and you got their tight end, and you think that they're gonna still be doing good. I don't.
Well,
see
you left out the quarterback. You got the
quarterback.
You don't need nobody else.
Yes, you do. You
I got a question.
They'll get another running back.
Isn't the NFL draft coming?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
The running back was a rookie.
Okay.
You got Clyde Douglas. You talking about the Lilliputian, the Clyde Douglas? I mean, he did good.
He's good. They still got the other boy out there.
Let me just say something in case it's slipping y'all's mind. When you're in the Super Bowl, you pick last. You know what I mean? All the fiery burner guys, they go first. Yeah, you pick last. Right. Down to you.
They still Kansas City though, dog. They still really good.
No. I'm with him. Kansas City ain't gonna miss a beat. You got Andy Reid, old school. Let me tell you how old school we are. Who got this in there?
What's that, a ruler?
Exactly.
I didn't tell you the last time I used a ruler, but that ain't none of your business.
He pulled out a ruler. I don't even know I have a ruler in my house.
My point exactly. First down.
Yo, Frank, even though you pick last, you know they don't, very rarely do they pick running backs in the first round. So you'd be able to get a decent running back. I said rarely. You'd be able to get a decent running back towards the end of the first round if you really need.
Or free agent running back. There's free agents out there.
But here's what I'm saying. Kansas City doesn't have a lot of money to spend, and they lost 2 of their 2 key pieces that they have right now. And by the time you get to try to pick, because you pick last, by the time you try to get a great runner, I'm saying great, a great running back or a great wide receiver, those guys are gone in the first couple of rounds. I mean, the first picks, because we all know what happens. The teams that suck get, and the teams that have a lot of draft picks get to jump in ahead of you. They're ahead of you. They pick first. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just don't see them.
I don't think they're relying on the draft for that, though.
I don't think
they're relying on the draft.
I think
they know they're picking last. They're not relying on the draft. They may be looking at some free agents. They probably already on the phone.
Or trade.
Like Larry Fitzgerald has been in the league. They gonna make a move.
Yeah, they're gonna have to, because we all saw what happened with Kansas City in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? They lost 2 offensive linemen. They needed their wide receivers, and they had their wide receivers and tight end working well, but he didn't have a chance to throw the ball. I mean, you know.
But they need to get some big boys. They don't need none of that other stuff.
Yeah.
As long as they show up that offensive line,
which they did. They got Joe Tooney from the Patriots. He was their best offensive lineman. They made him the highest paid offensive lineman in the game. They got him. So they should be okay. I mean, we'll see to that. Lastly, man, before we jump into the NBA, I don't know if you all heard this news, but Hugh Jackson, he came out and he said Cleveland lied to him about his analytics while he was going on. In 2 years, he won one game. In 2 seasons, he won one game. And he said last night that the Cleveland ownership was lying to him about analytics and people to pick and people to help plug him in. Obviously players to help him make his team better around him. He is very, very outspoken right now against the Cleveland, about Cleveland ownership and everything else. My thing is, why would he come out now? He hasn't been in Cleveland in 3 years. You know what I mean? Maybe 4, might be 4. But He came out last night and said a lot of things about the Cleveland ownership and everything else. Talent, what's the first thing that comes up in your mind when you hear this story?
Sexual harassment. That's the only thing these days in the news that come out later. He touched me in 2018, February 6th. I remember it like it was yesterday. So when somebody comes late after the fact, like you said, that's very interesting, Frank. You ain't been there in years, and all of a sudden you're very vocal about an organization and how messed up it was and what they said they were going to do, they didn't do, and all that. Something happened recently to refuel that fire. That's what I believe. First thing come to my mind.
That's the first thing come to my mind. Something happened. Faye, what's the first thing come to your mind when you hear this story?
He a little late to the party, but he could have just found out. I mean, the information that he was getting, he could have just found out that the information was wrong. I mean, listen, talent brought in sexual harassment. How many times a guy have a baby, you know what I mean, and he buying the baby all kind of stuff and whatever, and then 2 or 3 years later he find out the baby was somebody else's. Sometimes you're late to the party. Sometimes you don't find out until later, a couple years down the line, till you realize that baby don't look like you. Baby look a lot more like Rodney Perry. I'm like, wait a minute, man. Why does the baby look like Rodney?
Rodney, you got a rebuttal?
No, man. Here goes, man. We all know that being a black coach in the NFL is the hardest job in the world, right? And is it beyond a team like Cleveland to do something like that? I don't think so. I don't think so. Aside from the fact that they're just bad, but a lot of times these teams, man, want to move on and they'll do whatever they have to do to move on. I believe him, and regardless of when it came out, it don't matter. I'm of the mindset that these teams want to do what they want to do, whether you like it or not.
You know what? None of you three mentioned one thing I expected you all to mention, and it's the biggie too. I didn't hear none of you all say that the Cleveland ownership, they were forced to hiring him because he was a black coach and was purposely sabotaging him because he's a black coach. You know what I mean? I expected one of y'all to say that. I'm surprised. You know what I mean? And
we didn't say that. I didn't say it. Did you say that, Talent?
I ain't say that. No. But you know what it's like? I wouldn't put it past them. It's the same thing they're doing to my boy Silas in down there with the Houston Rockets in the NBA. It's the same thing they doing with him. They hired that boy and then got rid of all the players.
Well, in that sense, I understand what your point is in that sense, but with him, he started out with the first, by the time they did that with Houston, they traded it mid-season. You know what I'm saying? They traded him out mid-season, so that's a little different. Plus, he knew going in, James Harden had told them going in, he wasn't happy and he wanted to be traded. So he knew that was happening going in. With Hugh Brown, he was under the impression that he was getting the best information from his ownership, and then he got sabotaged and find out maybe now that he wasn't getting the best ownership. So that's not a good analogy. I can't give you that one, Fig. But I understand your point.
Hey, man,
but the analogy is fair. I think that.
Yeah, I understand his point. Yeah,
but let's throw this out there. We talked about organizations earlier. Cleveland's one of them organizations that ain't really trying to win. Like, some organizations still make money when they lose.
Yeah.
And so, maybe the sabotage is not black or white. It's always happening. And now we just being let in on it. Maybe the losing teams in the NFL that go under the radar, they like to stay there. And how do you do that? You get a guy, mediocre people.
Maybe they wanted a couple of first-round picks. Go ahead, Fig. What you gonna say?
Especially when the hot dog costs more than the price of admission. Hot dog is $20.
How long is
and
it though? How long
the price of admission is $10. It's a foot long, Roddy. You know it's a foot long.
Tyler, what were you gonna say? I thought you were gonna say something.
We can't get away from this goddamn hot dogs.
Gigantic hot dog.
I feel hungry as hell today. Fig is hungry. No, I mean, I need a reason. Here's what I don't. I agree. I agree with white people half the time when they say a lot of us do pull the race card. So I didn't go to pulling the race card because that indication wasn't there. It's not a bad analogy. It's not a far-fetched analogy because we've watched a lot of sabotaging of coaches because of race. I'm gonna give this black guy what we call affirmative action, and then I'm gonna prove to the people that's watching this don't work, and I'm gonna replace him with a white guy. Nobody can say nothing to me because I did the affirmative action part. Didn't work out. Now I'm going back to the white. But again, because he kept his mouth shut for all these years, no one's thinking that. He didn't give anybody that to go on until now. So I think because of that, when people come out late, it's been proven something happened of recent to make you go with old news now.
He didn't even mention the race card. Let's be honest. He didn't, look at the press release and everything else. He didn't say one thing about him being a black coach. I'm just saying, in my opinion, like it's pretty suspect that, he was the head coach. It was his first time head coaching. He was losing every game. He went 2 seasons and won 1 game in 2 seasons. And he was getting wrong information. They were setting him up to fail. Now, you also know a couple of years ago, the NFL passed a mandate literally a couple of years ago where you have to start at least interviewing black coaches as candidates. You know what I mean? So I'm saying maybe they hired him to fill that slot. And they were like, okay, well, if we hire him, our team's lousy. We know we got a couple of guys coming out, from the draft. We're pretty good. Let's lose some games.
Well,
maybe it just didn't work out.
Maybe.
It's the perfect time to say something like that. George Floyd trial just started yesterday. So, with that heat on there, and then you come out with this Pelican brief, it's the perfect time. This is what they call a perfect storm. Yeah, the climate is right.
There you go.
That's a great point.
Yeah, maybe it's a possibility. Now let me throw this out.
I don't know what Rodney's eating, but the bag sounds delicious.
Let me throw this out there. Rodney, you missed this. We were talking about Andre Drummond and we talked about LaMarcus Aldridge joining the team and everything else. The Lakers came forward after last night and said that they're starting Andre Drummond over Marc Gasol, right? And Drummond lost 15 pounds. He's trying to get back to what he's doing, where he was at before Detroit. You know what I mean? A couple of years ago. He's trying to get back a couple of years. So I'm going to start with you, Rodney, because we talked about a little bit about this yesterday. Do you like Andre Drummond joining the Lakers, and do you think he should be the starting center over Marc Gasol? Because I personally think that's a great idea if he's back to where he was. What do you think?
It don't matter where he is. Marc Gasol is a piece of shit.
Oh, okay.
Right. and that's the problem. Marc Gasol went out and got him, and he is not proven to be an asset. And that's the problem, that they had to get somebody else. So, Marc Gasol is going to stay. He's still a big guy, and he still plays the game well, but he's not what he was as a young Marc Gasol. So I think that's the issue for the Lakers right now.
All right. Talent, what do you think?
I think this is going to be trouble in paradise. Like, Marc Gasol is no regular guy. He made his bones. He made a name for himself. So you went and got him. That was a big splash. And now you come by, grab Drummond, and on top of that, say, you sit down, let him start. We got a rift coming.
Yeah, but it might be a rift coming. But when AD comes back and Marc Gasol's at the 5, Drummond's at the 5, the Lakers look like they're gonna be pretty tough to beat, bro.
It's gonna be a rift, bro. It's gonna be a rift. Let me tell you something about teams. If me and Fig on a team, and it's gonna be people on that team that like Fig, people that like me, and if one of us take each other's spot, it's gonna be a rift in that team.
Okay, I remember that in case the future, what the future looked like for box seats. If somebody want to take Fig's spot or Sal's spot, I'm like, Can't do that. Can't do that. Can't do that. Fig, what you think, bro?
And man, first off, you said that Andre Drummond lost 15 pounds. He's 7'2", I believe. You can lose at 7'2", you can lose 15 pounds taking a crap. You know what I mean? If he go to the bathroom, he can literally lose 15 pounds taking a crap after dinner. He's 7 feet tall, Frank, for God's sake. And if he takes Marc Gasol's place, all right, Marc Gasol is 2 years younger than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I think they went to high school together. Marc Gasol is old, and his skill set is, when you got a player like Marc Gasol, Marc Gasol was never really a banger. He was always a finesse player. So if you got, it depends on who your opponent is, whether you go with Andre Drummond or whether you go with Marc Gasol. You go with Marc Gasol when you want to pull a big man from the other team away from the paint and make him, because Marc Gasol can still shoot 3-pointers. But then when you got a big man that you want to dominate, you use Andre Drummond down in the paint, because Andre Drummond is a handful in the paint. He gets rebounds, block shots, and stuff like that. So it really depends on your opponent. Like the Lakers did last year. There was one series where they didn't use Dwight Howard at all. And then the next series, he was real instrumental in playing because of his skill set.
Yeah, that's a good assessment. All right, here's a little something that's tricky. I looked this up last night or night before last, and then it occurred to me that I wanted to bring this up to you guys. There are 3 big names that's going to be on the market this offseason as soon as the NBA is officially over. You got Bradley Beal, he'll be a free agent. You got Kyle Lowry, he'll be a free agent, and Kawhi Leonard, who could technically be a free agent too, because he could opt out. Those are the 3 biggest names. So that's Bradley Beal, Kyle Lowry, and Kawhi Leonard. Now I'm gonna say this, Talent. I don't think Bradley Beal is coming back. If he become a free agent and he gets on the market the way he's supposed to be, I don't think he's coming back. And I'm kind of nervous about which team he can go to, because if he goes to the right team with the right system and everything else, he's that one player that can turn your whole franchise around. What do you think when you hear those 3 names right there? Talent can't hear you.
Hold on. I think 2 out of the 3 are not coming back to their teams. I think Kyle Lowry's not coming back. I think Bradley Beal's not coming back. And I think, depending on a championship or not, Kawhi's not.
So you got 3 for 3. All 3 of them are going to be.
If Kawhi don't get the chip, he's not coming back.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say, for the record, we all know Kyle Lowry's going to the Sixers. You know what I mean? Because he wants to play in Philly. He's from Philly. We know that's gonna happen. The other 2, I have no idea how that's gonna fit. But Vic, when you hear those 3 names, what's the first thought that you think? What do you think? Bradley Beal, Kyle Lowry, and Kawhi Leonard. What you think's gonna happen with those 3?
You know what's kind of crazy, man? I was it's just me being a Knicks fan, man. I was hoping that the Knicks would be able to grab a player like Bradley Beal, because if we had a player like him, man, we could really make some noise. You know what I mean? Because we got a nice little core, and we might be able to do something with him. Kyle Lowry, he's 35 years old, man. I mean, ain't nobody giving him no. You imagine giving a guy who's he's listed at 6 feet. Kyle Lowry may be 5'10", maybe. Mm-hmm. Ain't nobody giving a 35-year-old 5'10" player a 4-year deal. So if he goes somewhere, he's going on a 1-year contract.
Okay.
Kawhi Leonard, he's an LA dude. He wanted to stay in LA. So I really don't know. You know what I mean? That was his whole thing from San Antonio. He wanted to go to Los Angeles. So I see him possibly staying in Los Angeles if you Kawhi Leonard.
Rodney Perry, what you think?
Let's look at it. Okay. So you got Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry is one of those guys. We saw Rondo prove to us that aging veteran can make a difference on a squad. And Kyle Lowry kind of fits into that window. Like Figgy said, he has got to get up in age, but he fits into that window. So he could end up in a lot of places, I think. And he's got to get out of the great up north. He got to get out of there. And then you go, okay, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard proved he don't want to stay nowhere. I think when he was a kid, his family moved around a lot. He do not mind setting up shop in a new city. But then the question becomes where? Like he went to Toronto, came, he was out in San Antonio, Toronto. Now he's in LA. Where else? Maybe he goes to Houston and make them great. No.
At the end of the day,
Bradley Beal got to get out. That ship is sinking. He got
at the end of the day, Kawhi can only go to a team that can afford that contract. I don't know how many teams that is. This contract is huge. That's number one.
Houston.
Houston actually could because Houston got rid of James Harden. And how much of that money is dead money? I don't know. I'm gonna look into that.
Houston would put up the bank, open up the bank for that guy.
Yeah, and he would definitely turn around the franchise. Where you think? Because you said one thing you said about Kawhi, but and you said Kyle Lowry. But where do you think Bradley Beal's going to go? You just said he got to get out. Where do you think
he's got to get out? I mean, he's so good, man. I mean, you said this many times. I mean, everybody should really be. He should be sitting up waiting for people to call. Like he should be getting calls from down in Miami. Miami should be hitting him up. LA should be hitting him up. I'm talking about the Lakers. The Lakers. Golden State should be hitting this guy up.
Ooh.
I don't know.
What about these teams on the cusp? People like Denver, people like Utah that need that real just get a man a ball scorer. They could use a guy like Bradley Beal. I think that his upside is higher than everybody in that conversation we got.
Yeah, I think it is too. But Bradley Beal is the scariest if he is just goes to a team that's that one player away from needing a guy like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And certain teams you mentioned, I don't know, but Miami is probably not a bad fit because Miami needs that other option besides Jimmy Butler. You know what I mean? Like they need that person.
But who do you get rid of in Miami?
Well, I think they just grabbed Oladipo. No, didn't Miami just grab Oladipo?
Yeah, they did. But that's what I'm about to say. Number one, they just got Victor Oladipo, who's a rental, because Victor Oladipo is going to be a free agent at the end of the season, so he can go anywhere he wants. Now, yeah. So now, what do they do? Does Victor Oladipo stay in Miami? He might, but if he doesn't, now guess he's on the market. And then of course you got Bradley Beal on the market. If you're a team, do you call Victor or you call Bradley Beal? I'm calling Bradley Beal.
Well, I don't know if y'all heard this or not, but it looks like Victor Oladipo might be going to the WNBA.
I am going to call his people, play this back, and say this is what Rodney Perry said. So when you go to the market and he walk into the comedy club, you know what the comedy
I'm just saying he got to grow out his facial hair.
Just so we clear, that hot dog was a footer. It was a footer fake.
Yeah, the hot dog. All right, y'all. That's the show, man. We had a great show.
Wait a minute. Not on that.
That's the show today. Tell everybody out there how they can follow you. We're going to leave on Victor Oladipo joining the WNBA. We're going to leave on that one. That's good.
Follow me every day, 1 o'clock, box seats. You see what it is. And It's Just Comedy on Twitter and Talent the Comedian on Instagram. See you there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Fig, everybody out there how they can follow you.
Yo, that's hilarious. All social media platforms and Comedian Fig. And Monday through Friday, I'm on the box seats 1 to 2 p.m., baby. And let me tell you something. This is the only damn show where you're going to hear Victor Oladipo. It might be joining the WNBA. And that's why we the best damn sports show on TV.
I have got to play that clip back today. Rodney Perry, tell everybody out there how they can follow you.
Hey, RodneyPerry.com is the website. Rodney Perry Live on all the social media. Check it out right there. And shouts out to all the folks, all the box seats fans that's been hitting me up. I miss y'all, and glad to be back in the seat. I just shot a movie. It's a Christmas movie, so it'll be out. Excuse me. The end of the year.
Okay, I was about to say. I hope you didn't get sick when you shoot that movie, Rodney.
That's that hot dog.
Okay. Y'all, that's the show. You just heard 3 times. The show's called Box Seats. It's on the Humor Mill channel. Of course, we are on every social media platform you can name. And, of course, call your cable service provider. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow, we got to talk about Justin Fields. We got to talk about Trevor Lawrence. We got to talk about some of these football dudes, man. And then, of course, some big news about Russell Wilson, man. I don't know if this is true or not, but if Russell Wilson is trying to literally talk to a couple of other teams like the Eagles, we got to have that conversation. We're going to do all that tomorrow, y'all. Of course, we don't want you all to miss out. It's the box seats. It's at 1 o'clock. Thanks for watching. Take care.